Hey everyone, so what I have here today is the key fob out of my 2013 Dodge Dart. It kind of developed an issue where the trunk would randomly open. I'd come out for lunch at work and I would notice that the trunk was open. Had some coworkers mentioned it, and so after a few days of putting up with that, the most logical place to look would be at the key fob. It's original to the car. I don't know if the battery's been replaced or not, but let's go ahead and take a look at this and see what's up with it. And if any of you are familiar with replacing your battery in a key fob, this will be pretty straightforward. But generally, they form basically a clamshell and they pop apart. In the case of this, there's a small tab here. And if we just start prying in that area to not break the tab, we should be able to separate the clamshell nicely, which, yep, okay. So if you were normally going to this, you'd be replacing the battery here. In this case, it is a CR2032. It does note which position to have the battery in, but I'm most interested in this part of it. So it looks like on this, and full disclosure, I have had this apart once already, and I'll explain why in a little bit. But this actually is a 3-piece unit, where the circuit board is actually part of the button section, and we can pop this out. And you can kind of see how this sort of works. So if we kind of orient these this way, so it came out like this, we can note where the trunk button was. I can't remember the name of this type of button, but it's basically a little domed piece of spring steel that fits over top of these traces here. And what happens is when you press down, you hear that click. It actually bridges the contact. That's gross. Get a better thing to point with. It actually bridges the contact between this outer circle and this inner circle and this inner dot, and that's what actually makes the momentary contact. So what happens, it appears in this style, is these domes are originally affixed to the underside of the buttons on the silicone piece, and they just fail over time. And what had happened in my case is this domed button had kind of slid out of position, and since it wasn't glued in anymore, if you just jiggled the key fob, it would actually unlock the trunk. It's kind of funny. So the reason I had this originally taken apart and discovered the issue was because I figured there was some way that I could glue these little buttons back in and have it work. Between shoe glue, regular, super glue, and even hot glue, I just didn't find any solution that worked really well or consistently or I felt confident in that would work long term in something like this, since it's a, you're using it every day and you got to rely on it to be able to get into your car and lock it and so forth. So to the interwebs I went, and after a quick Google of just the year, make, and model of my car and just key fob, I was able to determine a few places to get basically not the whole fob. You can buy the whole fob for as little as $30, but you can also buy just the plastic casing, the plastic housing along with the button unit, and in this case I got it for $9 off of eBay. So we're taking a little bit of a gamble. We don't know how this will work. I saw some mixed reviews from what some people said on some other ones. This one didn't have any reviews, but it looked pretty straightforward and pretty similar, so let's actually just get these out of the way so you don't mix them up. And I am not going to reuse the other battery. We can actually test it to see if it's still good, but I figured new case and everything, let's go ahead and use that. Let's go ahead and use the new stuff. So also what I want to do is make sure that we get the rest of these little domed button pieces off, and we actually clean up these contacts with some isopropyl alcohol. So actually in my case I'm using 91% rubbing alcohol, not isopropyl. Any kind of alcohol, any kind of rubbing alcohol like that's fine to use. You're not going to hurt this. The biggest thing we want to do is remove any residue that's in there, so you can just take a Q-tip. We can just go to the surface of it and clean up. As you can see, it already cleaned up quite a bit. We can clean the surfaces of these, get any kind of dirt and debris out of there. And the reason why you want to use alcohol is it's pretty gentle, or it's gentle in the sense that you're not going to hurt anything on the surface of this. But it evaporates quickly. So, and if there are any moisture whatsoever, it'll take it with it. So we just want to clean this up relatively good. And as you can see, we're still getting some crud off of here, so we'll take a little more. But just a Q-tip and some rubbing alcohol is fine for this. And I actually found this kind of interesting because, as you can see, according to the original key fob, we're only using this button, this button, this button, and this button. So we're only using these 4 buttons. There's still 3 buttons that aren't in use. So obviously this circuit board layout is used on multiple Chrysler vehicles and different options. I'm guessing one might be a remote start or whatever, but that's close enough. That's good enough. And we'll just take in with the new button set. We'll just put the circuit board section on top of it. Fits nicely, so hopefully this will work. And this is a CR 2032, so we'll grab a brand new one that we have. Oh, as I pry it out of the package here, grab a brand new one. The case of this also mentions what side's down, so the part that isn't kind of crimped in, or where you can see the crimp, is the positive. Goes right in. Seems to fit in there okay. Seems to fit in okay. And then we can just pop the button section back into the top, and we should be able to just press this back together. I don't know if this slides in when it's new. Might slide it. No, it doesn't. It must just click in. New plastic stuff. I don't want to break it. There we go. There. Well, seems like a key fob. Hey, I already heard my car, so that worked. Let's I'm gonna go take the camera. I'm gonna set us up outside. The only thing I'm a little concerned about is some of the fitment here on that, if we can get that to be flat, because on these keys, this is actually what goes into the ignition portion of the car and turns. So let's go ahead and let's test out the rest of these features. So yeah, I will move the camera, we'll go test the buttons, and we'll see if the car starts with it. I think it should, but just to make sure. I'll be right back. All right, so let's give it a shot. Well, it unlocks fine. It locks fine. Unlock. And we can open the trunk. Seems that we were successful for this. So, you know, this is a good thing to kind of look for before you just jump ship and go to the dealer and get a new key and get it programmed and everything, because you could be a couple $100s into that. They don't give these away from the dealership, and you can find like $30 aftermarket ones online that you need to get programmed at the dealership, but it's just not worth it. For $9, we fixed a problem that was intermittent with this. Now, as to the longevity of the fob, you know, who knows? Time will tell. So we'll give it a good shot. I didn't try the panic yet. Let's so that works. Clearly we're good there. Now let's make sure the car starts, which I'm sure that it will. I'd be shocked if it didn't. Alright, key works. So yeah, just a decent way to save yourself some money. Definitely not worth spending a couple $100, especially on, you know, it's a 2013, it's an older car. You know, if you don't have any other factory keys, maybe it's a decent one, but yeah. So anyways, there's a good fix for you. Thanks for watching. Well, if you're still watching, I guess I'll give you a little bit of bonus footage. So like I said, you know, $9. I think it's a pretty good deal right on eBay. All I did was Google the make, model of the car plus key fob, and you know, just through pictures kind of figured out which one it was, because some of them did use some of the other buttons, but obviously that's not relevant to my specific car. So what I also wanted to demonstrate or show was, you know, it's good to test these batteries. Sometimes they are 3 volts, and that's, you know, generally what's used. So let's go ahead and give it a shot to see if it was truly worth replacing. We just set our voltmeter. On my case, it's to 20 volts, and as you can see, it's 2.97 volts. So, you know, likely this battery would have worked for quite some more time. I've seen the batteries continue to work pretty good when they're down to as far as 2.6 volts or so. But I wouldn't put it much push it much beyond that. Also, the stock backup key fits. This key is only good for the locks on the cars. It's a keyless ignition entirely. But yeah, it's totally worth swapping the battery out for, especially if you're redoing all this. Now, hopefully, this will have a longer service life. I am going to keep all of the components just in case, say, a plastic part of this breaks. You know, we have a replacement till we get another one. And I do have a backup fob anyways, so I didn't need to do any of this at all. I just wanted to demonstrate a quick and easy and inexpensive way to get your remote working, because these can, like I said earlier, these can be pretty expensive, especially if you go straight to the dealership. I will note you can actually buy the whole fob with the internal circuit board and everything. You can find them for as cheap as like 30 bucks or so. And the downside, of course, is you still have to bring it to the dealership or know someone that can actually program, in this case, Chrysler keys, but it will depend on your car manufacturer. And, you know, if you're going someplace already to have that paid for, I'd rather just get the, you know, if you're going to go all that way, I'd rather get the OEM actual fob, or if you can do it yourself. So this is a good way. The circuit board was still good. It worked as, you know, it worked fine, you know, $9 we're in. So anyways, I'm going to keep the rest of this. I am going to keep this as a spare battery. I'm not going to throw it right away because there are some other things that I can use them in to use up their life. So anyways, thanks again for watching, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks. Bye.